welcome my to hello, welcome my to channel reading book 1984. God is power. He accepted everything the power alterable. The past never happened alter. Oceania was at war with Stacia. Oceania has always been at war with Stacia. Joined Aaron, son, and Rutherford were guilty of the crime they were charged with. He had never seen the photograph, had discovered their guilt. It had never existed. He had invented it. He remembered, remembering, contrasting, but those were false memories. Produce of self-reception, how is it always? Only surrender and everything else follow. Was like swimming against a current that swept you backwards. However hard you struggle. And then suddenly decide to turn around and go with the current instead of opposite. Nothing had changed except your own attitude. The predicting then happened in any case. He hardly knew he had never ever replied. Everything was easy except anything could be true. The so-called law of not true were nonsense. The law of gravity was nonsense. If a wished O'Brien had said could flow off his floor like bubbly. Wisdom worked it out if the thing it off the floor and it simultaneously. I see, then the thing happened. Suddenly like a lump of submerged wreckage breaking the surface of water. Instead of borrowing his mind, it doesn't really happen. We imagine it. It is a hallucination. He pushed the saw under earnestly. The fussy was obvious. It proposed that somewhere or other outside until there was a real thing happen. But how could there be such a world? That knowledge heavy of anything steps through our own mind. All happening are in the mind. What our happening all mind truly happened. He had no difficulty in disposing of the face, and he was in no danger of succumbing to it. He realized and never thought that it ought never to have occurred to him. The mind should develop a blind spot whatever dangerous so presented itself. The purpose should be automatic, intensively cramps to they call in the newspeak. He set to work exercise himself in crimes to he present himself with proposition. The party say the earth is flat. The party say that ice is heavier than water and trying so in not saying or not understanding the argument that contradict them. It was not easy. I did it needed great power of reasoning and improvisation. The Earth's metrical problem rises for step by such esteem as 2 and 2 may 5 were beyond his intelligent grasp. In need also sort of athletic of mind, an ability at one moment to make the most delicate use of logic and at the next to be on conclusion of the crowdless logical rules stupidly was unnecessary, as intelligent and as difficult to attain. Although with honor for his mind, he wondered how soon they would shoot him. Everything depends on yourself, O'Brien had said, but he knew that there was no conscious act by which he could rein it near. It might be 10 minutes hence, or 10 years. They might keep him For years in solitary confinement, they might send him to a lair camp, they might rely him for a while as they sometimes did. It was perfectly possible that before he was shot, the whole rhyme of his arrest and interrogation would be enacted all over again. The uncertainty was that this never come at an expected moment in tradition and unspoken tradition. Somehow you know it, so you never heard it say was that they shoot you from behind always in the back of the head without warning as you walk down a corridor from cell to cell. On day was not the right expression, just as probably was in the middle of the night. Once he fell into the strong, blissful river. He was walking down the corridor, waiting for the blood. And now that it was coming, in another moment, everything was settled, smooth, out reconnaissance. There were no more doubt, no more argument, no more pain, no more fear. His body was healthy and strong. He walked easily with a joy of movement and with a feeling of walking in sunlight. He was not any longer in the narrow white corridor in the Ministry of Love. He was in the enormous sunlight passage a kilometer wide, down which he had Smith to walk in the delirium, included by who was the golden country flowed to foot across to old rabbit, rabbit, passed through he could fit a spraying trough under his feet, and the glance sun shone his face all the edge of the forward elm tree faintly strained, and somewhere beyond that was the tree where the deck lay in the green pool under the willows. Suddenly he struck with the shock of horror. His feet brought on his backbone. He had heard himself cry aloud, Julia, 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 my love, Julia. For a moment he had had an overwhelming inclination of her person. She had seemed to be not merely with him, but inside him was and through. She had got into the texture of his skin. In that moment he had loved her far more than he had ever done when they were together and free. So he knew that somewhere or other she was still alive and needed his help. He lay back on the bed and tried to compose himself. What had he done? How many years had he added to his servitude by that moment of weakness? In another moment he would hear the tramp of boots outside. They could not let such an outburst go unpunished. They would now. If they had not known before that he was breaking the agreement he had made with them. He avoided the party, but he still had the party. The old lies he had hidden had trickled mind bends an appearance of conformity. Now he had retraced the future and the Maya had surrounded them, but he had hoped to keep the inner heart evaluated. Now that he was in the wrong, but he preferred to be in the right. They would understand that O'Brien would understand it. He was all confused, that single foolish cry. He would have to stroll over again. It might take years. He ran a hand over his face, trying familiar himself with the now shape there were deep for in the cheek how bones felt sharp, no nouns flattened. Besides, signs Last seen himself in the clay had been given a complete, now set of teeth. That's enough. Goodbye.